I'm gonna try to, my biggest failure, I think, as chair is time management.
I wanna know
So
why
I'm
the
really
men
gonna
are in the
focus
middle
this
and the
year
girls
on
are
time management. That might mean I cut people off a little bit more frequently, but I'm gonna try to keep us on time. 2.0, are there any adjustments to the agenda? Hearing none. 3.0, I see no audience, so we'll move right past that one too. And look, we're 2 minutes ahead. 4, no presentations, so then we'll jump right to 5.0, reports to the
About
board.
audience and communication though, we've had some communications from between our last meeting and now. Is that going to be discussed or just?
It depends on what the topic is.
Okay, so communications that came to the board, I shared something with you.
Yes, I did,
Okay,
and I'm hoping that it gets addressed in 5.1.
fine, thank you.
5.1.
So I need to tell you that the principal's report you got is not the principal's report I wanted you to get.
Okay.
So I have made,
Really?
They have a new one sent to their email,
yes, you do.
so
I
if you
saw
have
that.
your,
And here's the hard copy of it that has more detail, and I
That will be
apologize for that.
great.
It was the wrong click that I did. But here is the corrected version.
It's longer, there's more reading.
Yeah, I know. This is usually what principal's reports look like. That other one was the first
I
draft.
was just gonna say, the outline.
Yeah, you think, I'm really apologize for that. So, I don't know. I'll give you a couple seconds just to look it over. And I think my intent, Keith, would not be to walk through all of it, but
Sure.
maybe to highlight a few, or if you have questions.
I would be happy to do that,
Is
and
that-
then we can ask any questions if there are any.
Okay.
Do you want to give us any highlights? No?
Sure. I mean, I hope you get from, I know it's quick and the first time you've seen the program for the in-service days, but I felt they were very rich with all sorts of new learning and new thinking and time for teachers to meet with other teachers also within the SU. And then when we had the HCS days to meet together as teams to start already looking at students and data and grouping and how we are going to provide the best instruction. So I felt, and teachers seemed very positive and support staff seemed very positive about their agendas. So we felt pretty good about that. Anything else you want? The summer programming, I know that for me personally, the first summer being at Hinesburg, it was a lot happening in that school. It's a wonderful use of the building, and the programming was great to have 41 students attend the 4-week summer fun program, and it really is a program that's rich in learning for those tier 2 and tier 3 kids, but also knowing that it's summer, to have some fun attached to it too. And that experiential part was really important. A lot of smiles on kids' faces, happy to be there every day. So I think for summer school programming, having that blend was just wonderful, and having part 2 there, where kids could piggyback on that, was very, very important too, and was also a nice blend for kids. I don't
So
know.
I'm looking at numbers,
Mhm.
41 K7, and then 13 Triple E, and then 6 middle school, so
Those are
it's
3 separate summer
three
schools.
separate programs,
Mhm.
so there might be some of the same kids doing the same thing, but
No. No.
that's a lot of kids.
Yes.
Large percentage of our population. It's good.
and there's 80 families total involved with part 2 over the summer.
And some of those might be the same kids
80
with
families.
part 2. Yeah.
So what we did is we created a partnership with the summer program, so we gave a 40% discount on the weekly rate of part 2 for the kids that were involved with the summer fun program. We worked with the state on the subsidy side too. to give the kids that needed additional funding, or the families that needed additional funding, an opportunity.
Nice.
I'm not sure if this is the way you like to get the enrollment, if that makes sense to you, I could do it in a graph, if you wanna see what the first day is like compared to November or December when we get there. However, or I can just present it just like
You don't have
this.
to do it now, but it would be great to be reminded how many teachers we have per, because I'm looking at those big numbers, and I'm hoping that's where we added some teachers.
Per grade, my understanding is yes, they're,
Okay.
yeah, but that's a good idea, you say, I'll
So
do that for the next
we
time?
can see like the, so we know, keep track of the size of the classrooms.
Got it.
Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
really interested in that.
And sort of pointing towards that, I'd like to provide to us a roster of teacher name and what they're teaching. It's because sometimes I get approached by people and they ask me about Mrs. X or Mr. Y or Mr. Z, and frankly, I'm sometimes in the dark about who's teaching what,
Okay, would you, just classroom teachers or all teachers?
all teachers.
Okay,
It can be found in the parent handbook too, on the website.
Yeah, it is
for
in the
quick
handbook now.
reference.
Well, I guess
Yeah, there is one in the handbook.
is that up to date?
Mhm.
I can pull that out separately for you. Okay,
Either way, sorry for my lack of
that's okay.
looking at
All
that.
right,
Are you good, Bill, if we just go and find it ourselves in the handbook?
Sure.
Check. One less thing.
okay.
Can I ask a question, you can tell me if it's inappropriate? Is, the 2 long-term substitutes, who are they for?
Uh,
Our staff is on leave or?
Yes, staff will be on FMLA. That's probably all I can say, right?
Lisa, did you want to ask your question?
Can I ask some, so we're talking about this whole report right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
There's a change with the Viking we should talk
I
about.
wouldn't be doing my part if I didn't raise this question. So I'm thrilled that we're revisiting this after-school play program for the younger kids. But what I'm curious about is what we're doing to help families that may not be able to afford $125 to participate. And I know it's separate from the school, but I've seen it on the front page of our website, it's been in the Viking, it's now being reported to us, so it doesn't feel separate to some families, it feels like it's a school activity. And so, are we doing anything to help families that might want to participate? Do we have a system for that, and?
They have a system, yes, and we talked about that in the summer. The families that have approached them, I mean, it's been in every, my understanding is it was in every, I don't know if advertising is the right word, but every product that parents got on that, if you need financial assistance, I don't remember the exact wording. And there are several kids who are using that.
Okay, so we okay, perfect.
I
Since it's not
appreciate
our-
you
yeah, I do
asking
too.
the question, because it's something
Right,
that we don't wanna, even though it's separate from us, we wanna at least have the
Right.
conversations with the people involved that segment of the population is served.
and it's been, Jeff worked a lot with the rec department to make sure that it was run through the rec department now, which is, I think that's a great avenue also, it's a,
I think it's a great avenue too. I do get concerned that
Right.
families may not choose, if they don't know that it's available. Like on the rec department, there's nothing about you can get subsidized,
Okay.
you can't afford, you know. And I worry that some families,
Right.
nobody's approached me about it,
Right.
I'll be honest, that
No.
some families will say, oh, sorry, Johnny, I'd like
Right.
to, but we don't have that kind of money.
I can find out how many students are using the subsidy if you would like, if that would,
I just guess that we're in it now, but
Right.
if this is a new model, I think that we should have a system for
Agreed.
making sure that we are not turning children
Right.
away from our school. If we're doing these kind of partnerships,
Yeah.
that it's still accessible to every kid.
and I know with the parents that we met with this summer, that was their goal also. That
Okay.
it would always be
Yep.
accessible to any kid, no matter if they could pay for it or not, and they would do the fundraising to ensure that that
Okay,
happened.
it's great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's a great opportunity.
While we're on that topic, I think it's imperative that we make it very clear that this 3rd and 4th grade dramatic performance is not a school function. because it is a pay-for-performance type activity. I don't know if there is financial aid for those in need doing it. I don't know that, but it is not a school-sponsored function, and I think it's important that the public know that. The other question I had is, they are using our facilities, so given board conversations in the spring or early summer on policy for facilities use, I just want to make sure that they're complying with whatever policy we have for that.
So they, I'm not sure how the conversation went. This was something that, Allegra and I were picking up on from previous agreements made by people in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Trying to sift through it.
so
Okay.
this year may be the transition year,
Okay.
if that is okay by the board.
Right. So I did, since, we did share this with, I think I talked to you about this, that we were planning on sharing this with the PI group ahead of time as a report to the board. And my assumption at the time was you had received the full report, and so I apologize once again for that. But since then, we had a great conversation with the PI group about the Viking and not, advertising is the wrong word, but not putting in there any information that could be considered advertising. But since then, we had gone from not doing anything, we are going to put things from nonprofits that benefit the Hinesburg Community School students. The reason Jeff and I had wanted to streamline it is because we have heard time and time again that communication really has to be key. And when the Vikings, you look at it objectively, at least the ones in the past, were very long and pages of information, right, that maybe could find another avenue for that front porch forum or, so in trying to do that, I think we went a step too far. And so we've since changed that. We're going to limit it to one page and maybe not, a whole quarter page promotional thing that people would like, but we could take it down and put it on one sentence. So we're still acknowledging all the wonderful things that there are many groups, nonprofit groups in Hinesburg that want to be doing with our kids, and parents can find out about it. So it was great conversation, and I thought Pi had some good ideas with that.
Thank you. Any other questions on the principal's report?
So you want me to bring up the communication issue?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so the other issue that has come up again, and I guess this is you, Jeff, is around the iPads, in that only half the children, being seventh graders, I guess, have iPads in some of the classes, and half the children don't. And so there's been a movement by parents to suggest that families bring iPads to the school.
That families bring?
To kind of survey who has iPads and can provide iPads for children. I mean, this gets into a very, we aren't saying, okay, half the kids we're gonna buy you pencils and half the kids we're not buying you pencils. So it gets a little tricky for me. So the communication I think came to me initially, or maybe Bill, I think it came to some of us, and I sent it to Keith. So I don't really get that iPad thing.
I'm trying to understand what was your understanding of the communication that you received, that half the seventh graders?
No, my understanding is that the seventh graders have iPads, but eighth graders don't, but the seventh and eighth graders have classes together where they're using iPads or something, or I don't know.
Some minimal classes, and then those settings, there's also a laptop cart where the one-to-one is still available. In a perfect world, I would have ordered enough iPads for the seventh and eighth grade students, but in a 3-year plan,
Right.
to do the rollout in 1-year increments. But in terms of equity and things like that, there's always opportunity for mobile technology in those classrooms where the iPads are. The iPads helped us so there's a full laptop cart. So if you have a class of 25 and there's 25 kids with iPads out, then the other 25 can access the mobile laptops. So in terms of having a device that you can hold in your hand or one that sits on the table. It's there, the equity is still there.
According to a certain seventh grader, there's some integration that there may be some rough spots around some of the kids having iPads and some of the kids having laptops. I don't know if you've heard that feedback from the teachers.
No, and that's a piece that I can help the kids out with. Anytime that, it's always the haves and the have-nots. And
No,
there's-
it wasn't
oh.
that, it was that, the technology, the iPad and laptop aren't always.
Oh, simpatico, yeah, correct. And there's a lot of conversation happen around, whether or not we buy keyboards for the iPads, because how can kids possibly be able to type on an iPad? And then, those of you that have sixth grade students, you realize that they can, and they do a really good job with it. And it's one of those things where the iPad is definitely different than the PC, and there's a lot of differences that go into that, but, the sixth grade team modeled so well how to use them and how to use them effectively, that in a year, it's, this isn't, in my mind, this isn't any different than the sixth grade having them and the seventh and eighth graders not. The eighth graders last year were upset that the sixth grade had them. And this year, last year, seventh grade, I understand that they're the only kids up in the middle school. I can't even.
The issue comes in is when you're in class together and they don't, some kids don't have them and, they use the laptops and so, but they're expecting to produce the same, they have more advanced technology. It's kind of the distribution is,
So I'll have those conversations
Yeah.
to see.
I'm just giving you, I'm
Yeah,
kind of the
I appreciate-
messenger
I
here,
appreciate
but,
it, yeah.
and I think as a board, we need to think about if this is really a learning, that we need to think about it in budget season, how we're gonna do this. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, it speaks to I have two questions about the iPads. A, what are we doing on the iPads? What kind, are we, is it new curriculum, what are we being used for? Because I have a problem with buying iPads for sixth and seventh graders when I'm getting emails from teachers telling my kids to bring in pencils and papers and notebooks and pens. So, is our resources best allocated in that fashion? If we are buying iPads and iPads, but we can't afford pencils and notebooks for second, third, and fourth graders, always are allocating our resources in the right spot. So that's my first question. Secondly, what earth-shattering learning are we using in these iPads that it's really enhancing the learning experience?
I would welcome you and all parents to come in and see the iPads in use in sixth grade, and you'll be blown away. And I can honestly say that. I mean, the 3D technology, if you're using it for science dissections and things like that, the collaboration, the instant collaboration between Kathy and I, that we both have iPads and we're working on the same document. I mean, if it's a writing sample or things like that, it's completely transforming the way that we teach our students. And you talk about enrichment and differentiation. The iPad is the equalizer, not only for if everybody has one in the room, that they're all accessing the technology, but then Johnny, who's just learning how to write a sentence, is at one spot, and the highest end kid is off researching, doing multitasking, 10 different things related to that one subject, gaining research and all of those things that are happening without the teacher. It's differentiation in the palm of your hands, and it's really transforming the way. I wouldn't be advocating for this as strongly as I am if I didn't see it. I mean, sixth grade was the model year, was the pilot year of this, and it went so incredibly well. You might ask, are their test scores better? I think that's something that we have to be, looking at. And that's the other piece, is that the intervention programs and things like that they can access on their iPads is rich.
I didn't mean to suggest that they weren't, it wasn't worthwhile, it's to ensure that we're using and leveraging them to the maximum. That was my concern. And if we are, that's wonderful, and I'm fully supportive of it. But still the question about pencils and papers versus iPads,
I'd
that's a
like to
final
hold
thing.
that one off till budget season.
Okay,
If we can, be prepared when you talk about the technology aspect of the budget to address that question. Did you have something?
No, that was gonna be my comment is, instead of us deliberating it now without being prepared for that deliberation, I'd prefer to have a conversation when, perhaps there's a presentation or, because it's new for everybody, and so we need to better understand it.
Can I just be clear on one thing? So do we have iPads I know we had sixth grade class last year got iPads as part of a grant. And my understanding is they moved with that class, so they're now in the seventh grade. Do we also have them in the sixth grade as well?
Yeah, we have them, they're being imaged and all the apps that the team wanted
That
on
we
them
had-
is,
yeah.
it's a laborious process, but
Yeah.
they're in our hands, and Jess is hoping to have them in the teacher's hands by Friday.
So next year, this won't be the same issue, because the seventh and eighth graders will have.
Correct.
Okay.
And just I don't know, just another point of clarity is that from year to year, well, I guess it's not fair to say. Last year, we didn't add any new money to technology. The board made a decision because technology had been neglected is too strong of a word, but it hadn't been a focus for so many years during the budget cuts, so the board made a decision to add new money, but that was more along the lines of infrastructure and things like that. So the amount that we spend on computers from year to year has not changed.
Yeah, okay.
And since the iPad integration, it's just reallocating funds differently in that budget line.
Okay, thanks.
5.2, CSSU debrief. Does the chair of that board want to say something, maybe?
Sure. Few debrief points. One, you all have the central office leadership team report, and Elaine chose to highlight the calendar. I know that some of you have probably heard from community members, and it comes up on Front Porch Forum periodically. And just a reminder that there are going to be forums related to calendar issues sponsored by the Superintendent's Association. And just to back up, it's the Superintendent's Association that decides the calendar, and that's based on a regional structure that connects to our tech centers and so forth. And I guess, I forget, October 10th or 11th?
October 10th at 6:30 here at CVU.
And there will be superintendents attending to observe, but they are not going to be facilitating it. They have a facilitator coming in, and during the forums, there's going to be an opportunity for participants to engage in activities such as, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities with calendars, what might a different calendar look like, what are the activities proposed for intercessions, for example, and an activity that would really engage the community in helping think through calendar issues. So that will probably be of interest to a number of people in our community. Another,
Can we ask questions on that
Yeah.
issue before are you going on to another issue?
yeah, go ahead.
Who adopts
The
this calendar?
process, yeah, so the process for calendar adoption, it's Superintendent's Association by statute. The superintendents come together and they adopt a calendar. We pretty much, give our stamp of approval, but we cannot adopt a calendar that's so local to our community. We can have some wiggle room with a few days here and there, but it's really a regional decision that's driven by the tech center coordination with our other schools.
And I'm sorry I missed it, but, and I will try to make October 10th I feel totally in the dark. about this issue,
Yeah.
other than what I've read in the Free Press.
Yeah, and so one of the things that the superintendents will do is provide some information ahead of time so that people will come into the meeting with some background knowledge. And they're very open to the understanding that there are a lot of variables going on. This is, if there were to be a new calendar, as some people have assumed that's already been decided on, it's a change that's significant enough that would take a lot of public process to move something forward. But it is the superintendents who have the authority to make decisions. People will think that board members vote on it. We don't vote on it, however, we hire superintendents. So that's our relationship with it. And hopefully we're working collaboratively with our superintendents. But it's a process that's been, discussion, a lot of discussion over a couple years for superintendents.
Can I point out that this will be a discussion matter not only at the various forums that are being held, but at the CSSU board meeting in November.
Mhm.
So that there will be lengthy discussion among the CSSU board at that meeting, and presumably with input from, obviously Elaine as our superintendent, but maybe from some administrators too.
It's gonna be a discussion throughout the year.
Has the superintendent's office asked this board for any input on it as of now? Because I'm new to the board, so.
But
No, they have not, is the simple answer.
But it's a process, it's gotta start someplace, and what superintendents have really focused on are developing a better understanding among themselves about what the challenges are with the current structure, and then brainstorming and, what are the opportunities and doing something a little bit differently. So they really needed to spend that time among themselves to work through some of it, and then it's been this rollout process of bringing it to administrators, getting feedback there, but it's not a one-stop shop where you go and you hear about something and then you move on. There's gotta be deliberation along the way to fully understand it, and I know that building level administrators, that have input as well that's going into it, so.
November 13th, is that?
It's a discussion item on the CSSU calendar. So, one of the pieces about calendars
Yes.
is that there has to be some uniformity across all supervisory unions. And so there are a lot of people engaged in this conversation, and it's time for public to become part of that conversation. Okay. We also discussed budget assumptions and voted on it at the SU. You have a list of the assumptions, and I believe it's an action item for us, but it helps central office start developing our budgets. And then substitute pay rates, that was an action item for us, and we chose to postpone that decision until October. It's gonna be on our October agenda again, because we wanna better understand some issues related to that. Auditor contract, we also decided to postpone that as an action item till October. That's it.
The last thing I'll mention is Cindy Kahneman Warren gave a good presentation on negotiations, background and summary material. We're gonna talk about some nuts and bolts on negotiations during executive committee at the end of this meeting. Executive session, sorry. For 5.3, fourth quarter, yes,
I'm sorry.
Lisa.
So I was just gonna say, in terms of that discussion we had around the pay raise for, or whatever it was called,
Substitute.
for substitute teachers, I mean, do we wanna have a little bit of a discussion here? What was it, $13,000 that it would impact? our
Yes.
time?
Well, we don't know exactly what it is, and that
Okay.
was one of the reasons we wanted to postpone, so that we had a better understanding
I
of
was under the
impact.
impression that was what Cindy was.
But she was making a quick determination, she may have had it in her notes, but we want it to be a more thoughtful process where we have something in writing in front of us that we can look at. So,
So.
Regardless, I think this is the opportunity of this board to address the issue if they want to do that.
so the action item was to change the pay for substitute teachers from $80 to $85 a day effective October 1, and $85 to $90 effective July 1st, 2014. Board hesitation came from two places in the way that I see it. One, what was the impact on the budget for this year? We needed to have a better understanding of what that would mean for our local budgets. Of course, next year, it could be built into budget assumptions, but this year, many local budgets are feeling strained. So that was a concern. The other piece was related to competition for quality substitutes, given geographic proximity to some other school districts that pay more. So how does that have an impact? So we need to better understand the nature of substitute teaching and the qualifications for people in different schools and so forth. Is that your
Yeah, I think that's
understanding?
fair. I mean, I guess I was under the impression, because if we're gonna vote next time at the CSSU, that we'd have a little bit of a discussion. I'd be curious to know from Jeff and Allegra if we have an issue with hiring, getting substitutes.
Is this appropriate? to-
I don't even know if it's my guess is that there are some elements that we wouldn't be able to discuss in open session. But
I
don't
think
know.
they can speak and answer the question in general terms, whether it's difficult obtaining substitutes or not. We don't have to say who it is.
As you can imagine, there's different times of the year where there's more people absent than not.
This year, there's no problem. This time of
Yeah,
year.
that's kind of weird.
Yeah, so, and on the off-season, so to speak, of the need for substitutes, the beginning of the year, the end of the year, things like that, we definitely have plenty. There's times, and it would be hard to determine the impact of a $5 or a $10 rate increase. Kneecaps are a time that,
When, the question that was posed that I think might be germane here is, when you speak with a potential substitute on any particular day, and the answer is no, I can't come in, is it, if, I'm going to work somewhere else that might be paying me more, or is it,
Sometimes.
sorry, I'm busy doing something else today?
I would say it's probably both of those.
I think every school has the core set
Right.
of substitutes who are pretty loyal to the school, not loyal to the school, but the school and the substitutes have a great working relationship. They feel comfortable there and things like that. They wouldn't be affected on it. The people, obviously, we'd want to compensate them fairly, but the people that, on the days that, a good sickness is going around, it's usually not just Hinesburg centric, so it's meaning that those people are often making decisions based on who calls
Right.
them first and what the rate of pay is.
Right.
Okay, thanks. Since you guys aren't on the SU board, do you have anything that you want to ask or add?
I guess I didn't get, the question was, do you have problems filling it? I didn't really think I got an answer to that. Are classrooms ever empty and have substitute teachers? Do you have problems filling them? Have we made an effort to get more into the queue?
So I think what I've heard from last year is just there were some problems. We've tried to streamline that through how we're calling subs this year, and we've made some adjustments that way. But I think what Jeff was saying is, if we have a day where we need 12 subs, and that does happen, because you're not just getting subs for classroom teachers. Sometimes you're making the decision, do I get a sub for this para, or do I get a sub for the classroom teacher? I can't have
Sure.
both. And those are hard decisions to
Sure.
make, because everybody's job is valuable.
Sure.
So do we have, I would say from what I heard about last year, there were times, many times, where we were making those decisions.
And was I in classrooms last year? Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And I'll say that would be, I spent time in classroom in Shelburne too, for 7 years, that's just, part of that is just what we do, but, when we're doing that, we're not doing other things.
So can I ask another question? So I guess the question to me is, you know, in a very lean budget, if you had to make choices along the way, would this be a priority for us to add money? Or we're not even adding money, you're gonna have to
Right.
find this money in the budget to support this, and I don't know exactly, I think 13,000 was thrown out at the CSSU, but that's not the clear number. But is it worth approving this at a, say, $10,000 that you're gonna have to find from somewhere else? Is it that much of a priority for you, or is it?
I think it's hard to say. I mean, you know, with it, again, it's only based on assumptions. If people did hear that CSSU was paying more, would the quality of substitutes go up, and therefore the opportunity for kids in the classrooms be enhanced or enriched? You know, without knowing what the ad could be by adding those, because I think as long as it meant that the students were in either better or, you know, maybe there's people out there that haven't even looked at Hinesburg or Williston or Shelburne because of the
Right.
pay raise.
Because the other school districts are paying $100 a day.
So, I mean, if the
But they're
quality,
not all of them.
but if the
Yeah.
But there are
quality,
some.
if the quality in substitutes goes up, then it's just hard to say.
And we're lucky in Hinesburg, I have to tell you, the substitutes that we have,
Are fantastic.
they
yeah.
really are.
Okay, thank you.
5.3, fourth quarter financial management. Mike, I assume you're gonna take us through that?
Yes. In your board packet, you'll have the August 16th financial management report summary. Bob highlighted in July, the last quarter, the major changes in the FMR. The good news is that you finished 31,000 rounded favorable versus 100,000 deficit that was budgeted. So that's the good news. And also in that good news, that 31,000 favorable was after providing an additional subsidy to the food service program of 25,753. So that's included in that number. Very good news.
So on the food service, the report says she finished the year in a deficit of 5185.
Correct.
That is after being
As-
supplemented with that 25 grand?
That is after the supplemental $25,000, yes. Food service continues to be a challenge. We meet monthly during the school year to try to address issues. It's challenging.
It's a great salad bar, though, I have to tell you. No, I've been enjoying it every day.
Any questions related to the school FMR food service or the construction summary?
Congratulations.
I think a lot of the credit goes to the bald old man.
Yeah.
Well, he's not here, so
Yeah.
he doesn't get it.
Yeah. Tightening the belt where he could.
All right, 5.4 facilities. Who is our facilities committee? Is that you, Kathy?
Yeah, did you notice anything?
The white building? Looks good.
Didn't get it done before the school year started, but. That's pretty much a report of the facilities committee.
Okay.
I could mention, I was in the principal's report too, but we were able to carpet and paint, the white building, 3 rooms in the white building to make them more, environmentally friendly as terms of learning environments. And now, especially today, on a really hot day, those are the most well-liked spaces in our school. But they came out fantastic, and Tim did a great job getting those rooms ready. Costs were very minimal. I had one of our custodians paint the rooms,
And so are we using those rooms as
Yeah.
classrooms now?
yeah,
We've started moving classrooms back into it?
2 world language rooms and a health room now occupy those spaces.
I guess glad central office didn't move in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think about that a lot.
All right, if you're ready to move on, 5.5 Technology Committee.
Who is
our technology.
That's me, but I was derelict in my duties. I was out of town on the last technology meeting, so.
And I don't believe the committee has met this year, but when they do, I've alerted Jess to notify Bill as the meeting
Thank you.
dates. That should be up and running by the month's end.
And then, next committee meeting is,
That'll be up to Jess to decide. They're usually on this Wednesday at 3 o'clock, 3 to 4.
okay. Any questions? Okay. 1 minute ahead.
Well, you're doing well, Keith.
6.0 discussion matters. 6.1 HCS CCS collaborative. Bill, I think this is yours. I cannot remember, I remember you talked to me about it, but I can't remember whether it was a board meeting or not in a board meeting. So I don't know that the board has heard anything yet.
There's not a lot to report. At the end of last school year, I met with 2 members of the Charlotte board. We had a beer at the public house and just talked about it, and we kind of sat down and said, what are we here to talk about? So we just basically talked about, I think their kindergarten enrollment at the time was 35 and ours was 72, and which way is the wind gonna blow? And we talked about, was it all 50,000 foot view stuff? If we wanted to, this is crazy talk, teach Mandarin, could we have a teacher, share a teacher and Skype it or webcast it back and forth? And if one classroom was overflowing, could someone from Hinesburg go to Charlotte? And we sent a communication to Elaine about it because we knew there was challenges with sharing teachers. So there's some maybe statutory stuff, but I'm not sure what. So it was kind of put in Elaine's lap and she was gonna go forward. But I think we all agreed that these are discussions we really should start looking at, whether the board's permission's a little more in a pointed manner, because again, with the tight budgets and their enrollment currently appearing to be shrinking, what's down the road? There was a grand discussion about, well, what if one became for the middle school arts academy, one became a technical academy? Who knows? So I think it was certainly a worthwhile conversation. The 3 of us agreed that we should do it again and someone else could join us. It'd be great to have another Hinesburg person. It was pleasurable. And, where do we go from here?
Thank you. Is the board supportive of this?
Absolutely.
Okay. Would it be premature to have an administrator join?
I think that'd be great, because they could we were kind of flying in the dark a little bit, and it's great to have their input, like, well, this wouldn't work because, or this would be good, Sometimes a little dose of reality is helpful for us
Okay.
board members who are kind of, go full
Can
speed
we,
ahead.
understanding that the central office is busy every time of the year, should we prompt Elaine for some follow-up on whatever you wanted? Okay.
I will.
And we'll put it back in your lap then to
Well, it should come from the board chair.
push another meeting with the Charlotte folks that you met with.
It should be you.
We can talk about that later. 6.2, United Church of Hinesburg property. So this is my diatribe.
Are you, do you have a conflict?
I do have a conflict. So, I am a member of the United Church of Hinesburg, and although not presently, I have served in leadership positions there. In the recent past, my wife is the treasurer, and as such, I am very uncomfortable being involved
So we should ban you from the
in
room.
this discussion and decision, both on the school board and for the church. So I am removing myself from both sides of the discussion and decision. In my day job, I would recommend to myself to leave the room and not participate in the discussion at all, but of course, this is an open meeting, so there's really no sense in me leaving. But I'm certainly not gonna preside over discussion, so I'm gonna hand it over to Kathy, who's our vice chair, correct? Who,
I'm vice chair.
you're vice, I'm sorry, Lisa is our vice chair, so I'm gonna hand this over to you and at least take some leave for the time being. Thank you.
Am I vice chair? Vice chair, right? That's bad.
It's your turn this week.
Creating a Chinese wall room, so.
Has everybody looked at this communication? So, thoughts?
It's really hard to read this,
Map.
map. So, just the orientation. It's really hard to read this map. Where is this land?
It's right at the end of Silver Street,
Go
on
over
the
the
right-hand
bridge.
side. If you're going south, just over the bridge on the left, it's kind of a wet marshy area that borders the little creek
Go over
there.
on the bridge on the right. The left is the old Baptist lot,
I'm sorry.
right?
No, on the
Okay,
right.
which
No.
direction are you driving? All right, I'm on Silver
going
Street, driving north.
No, I'm sorry.
Now you're headed
No.
south.
So this is Silver Street,
in her imaginary car. You don't know which way she's
or this is Silver Street, it's on the left. It's on the left, I think.
Oh, it's on the left. I had it wrong,
Wait a
sorry.
minute, this
The
map.
red-
No, it's on the right, it's on the right, it's on the right, because here's the baseball thing.
It's on the same side of the road as the teacher's parking lot.
No.
I don't think it
Well,
is.
this map is not correct then.
Right.
Where's Silver Street? This is Silver Street in the map right here, right?
Is it the old Baptist lot that we're talking about?
I'm not sure.
No, this, I believe this is Silver Street here, correct? Yeah. Sorry, Lisa, I believe this is Silver
It's
Street
on
here.
the left.
Oh, that's Silver Street, I'm thinking that's Silver
This is
Street.
Silver Street
It's
here.
on the left.
Where's
Heading-
Silver Street?
And
Silver
here's the-
Street's right here, I believe.
And here's the school baseball
Or is this
line.
Silver Street?
No,
that's
this is
Creek.
Silver Street, so it's,
Oh, it's the old Baptist lot.
What's that?
We
Yeah.
looked at that 20 years ago.
there's a baseball field, there's a parking
Which is
lot.
in
It
terms of the
abuts the
school.
parking lot, so it's, if you're heading south on Silver Street, it's on the left-hand side as you go over the bridge.
All right, okay.
It's wet, it's underwater. It's underwater, usually.
Hey, is that where we're putting the community pool?
Exactly.
Does the board have any interest in, this is the question, do we have any interest in this? Do you have anything to say about this property?
I have something to say about that.
Okay.
When the school was looking for additional land a number of years ago to expand the current facility, of course, the first place we looked was property adjacent to, you know, the existing site. And this property has been pretty much, you know, it was available at the time for us to purchase, and we rejected it because it's wetland. You can't do anything with it. So you can own it, but you can't have fields on it, you can't
can't do
build on
fields.
it, you can't even put a parking lot in it, you can't do anything with it.
Kathy? What do you think?
According to this, it's not a wetlands, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's
There's
not very
wetlands.
Just
viable.
floods and it's underwater, because
Yeah.
I drive by it every day.
Yeah. And that's really, you don't want, out here is like getting too far away.
And
from-
we have a report on
Silver
that
Street.
property from conservation folks that's, if you don't have it, I need to get it to you, but there is a report, because it was looked at very carefully.
And Colleen, about what year was this looked at?
It would have to be the 1990s, late 1990s. If you,
Oh, I'm not interested in buying it, so don't worry.
it's nice to keep open land, but if, you know, as far as usable space, it would be good for science and maybe literature, but not for recreation or facilities.
So,
That was snarky, wasn't it? Excuse me.
we're just discussing this, we're taking no action on it, but do we have any kind of,
I think what we need to do is, if we don't have it readily accessible, I can put my hands on it tomorrow, the report that was done in the 1990s, including a detailed map and looking at it and reports from a few different parties, because we were very much interested in having land that was adjacent to the current property.
so, and Jeff, when they approached you, did you have any interest in thinking this is a good idea, or?
No, I think if we could use it for recreational fields, that would be my only interest. But, you know, that agreement that we have with the town to use is it called the Lyman Meadow Fields? That is enough at our current number of students. The only thing I thought about was the science and things like that, but I mean, we're talking about very minimal times throughout the year that we would be able to access it for any useful purpose, I believe.
The only piece where I would not have such firm convictions is that it used to be said where Creekside currently is, that was prior wetland converted, and, people thought that there would never be building lots
Right.
back there.
Right. So maybe
Right.
at this stage of the game, we should just get a little bit more information, if you can pull out the report.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I don't know how quickly we need to get back to the church, but, it sounds to me like we should pull out this old report
Yeah.
and see if there's any reason, and really kind of thoroughly investigate if we have any interest in this piece of land.
Maybe have it on an agenda item for
Yeah, move it to,
October.
yeah,
I'm gonna put a note to myself.
okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, we're moving on, and the chairperson can take over.
Do you recommend to yourself that you should come back?
Yes, as soon as we move on. 6.3, Communications Boards Corners. This has been on our agenda for some time, I think to just prompt us to think about what type of communication we might put in community publications. I thought that at one of the all-board meetings, when we were talking about negotiations, that one of the board members, was it Eudora?
Adora?
She's from
She-
Charlotte, right?
yeah.
One of the Charlotte board members was going to put together a piece on the upcoming negotiations, and that essentially it would be published on behalf of all the boards in all of the various periodicals in the CSSU certain district. So I suppose we should follow up on that, so I will check with her.
And Keith, maybe, this is looking forward, but we wanna make sure we keep it in our calendars, that we're gonna want, this year, I think we would definitely, wanna pay for a
Yes.
professional to help us with our communication around the budget.
Yes, I received copies of what the other SU schools used last year from Bob Mason. Did everyone else get those?
No,
No, okay.
good point, Kathy.
All right, so if anyone has any brilliant ideas for things that they want to write, be my guest.
We need a shoehorn for our calendars, right?
So moving on, 6.4, School Board Select Board Collaboration. I think this one's me too. So Joe Colangelo wrote me sometime in August, essentially requesting that the school board meet with the select board to talk about, I think, financial issues and budget issues as it would ultimately affect the town's overall tax rate, both school and town. And I responded, if I recall correctly, with at least two things. One was I got to know a little bit more specifics about what it's going to be before I'm going to spend board time doing that. And I'm not going to be able to address it until the board meets the next time on September 11th. So I'll just throw it out there. Is there any interest in pursuing that kind of a collaboration with the select board? I will say this, and I probably shouldn't say this on the record, but I have no interest in having a meeting with the select board if and when they're gonna tell us what they think we should do for the school budget. This is a collaboration. This is not one side exerting force over the other.
But I do think it's a good idea if we are discussing what's on their agenda for big projects, and, so we have more of a heads up of what's coming before the community. then that could be a really positive thing. I mean, I hear you, Keith, and agree to some degree, but I think that in terms of our residents, you know, the reality is people are strapped and our taxes are going up, and I think it's good for us to have at least a little bit of a planning, you know, I mean, that could just be a cordial conversation, but,
If nothing else, the presentation
right,
in March. Last time, I think we had a
You and I-
conversation, Lisa and I.
yeah, we did it, yeah. And that was a while ago,
Yeah, it was prior to the last bond.
that's right.
And that might have been what was driving it, the fact that we had a significant increase to our school budget at the same time that the town was asking for a bond vote on the police station, which, you know, hit people substantially. So maybe that's what it is, to coordinate what big projects we might each have.
In the past, we've talked about trying to come up with some comprehensive capital plan, a multi-year understanding of capital needs in the community, and, but it's been a while since we've done this kind of work.
Okay. Well, I guess what I would suggest is I can respond to Joe, but really what I think I should do is have a conversation with Jonathan Treffery
Yeah,
about how we might do this efficiently.
so as to
To,
use
to
time.
to utilize both boards' times efficiently, because we don't meet that frequently, they don't meet that frequently, although I think more often than us, and we'd have to notice a joint meeting on both
So they want
sides.
a formal, like, joint meeting?
Well, that was the impression that I got. That was the impression that I got.
I am supportive of you having a conversation with Jonathan Treffery. I think that
Okay.
would be productive.
Okay. All right, action matters 7.0. 7.1, approve 2013-14 board work plan, which is on page 20 of your agenda and packet. I suppose first I need a motion to approve it, and then we can talk about it.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Lisa.
Second.
Thank you, Colleen. So we have the work plan. It looks new. For those of you that were at the CSSU meeting, you heard Elaine talk about it, but our work plan now is laid out in a grid. The shaded portion at the top are things that we deal with at each meeting and are always on the agenda. And then there are the monthly meetings listed underneath and the various things that we'll cover during them. I think it is very helpful for me to look at it and see what's coming and what is covered during the course of the year.
It's nice to see it on one page.
Yeah. Further discussion?
Nope.
We ready to vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. 7.2, approve budget assumptions and budget calendar. There is both the budget assumptions and a calendar for the budget season. It's for the SU, so you have to read it to pick out the Hinesburg particular meetings in the calendar, but I think, again, I need a motion, and then we can talk about it. So motion to approve the budget assumptions and budget calendar, I would entertain.
So moved.
Thank you, Kathy.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Colleen. Questions, discussion?
This is small, but, since we have natural gas and it's going down 6%, what was the one bright spot I thought we could put in utilities?
Based on what Bob told me, we're on an interruptible rate and
Yeah.
therefore won't realize 6% savings.
The But we won't have a 5% increase
Yeah.
either,
We'll
will
have to
we?
go with 5%. He may have thought it out. It's not a huge thing.
I can't respond to that. All I know is we're not going to realize the savings that's in the press.
Sure.
Sorry.
But this was Bob's recommendation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Are you ready for the question? All those in favor of adopting the budget assumptions and the budget calendar, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. 7.3, approve entering into VHI member participation agreement and power of attorney. Cindy did a much better job than I could at explaining this. But basically, it has something to do with the, well, first off, there's materials in your packet that also explain it. But it has something to do with changes to the VHI board and plan as a result of some of the healthcare reform. So we need to do two things. The administration's recommendation is, I think, on page 30 of our packet. And they even lay out what the motion should be. So I, again, will entertain the motions, and then we can discuss.
I'll make a motion to approve entering into VHI member participation agreement.
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion?
Agreements, I should say, plural, dental and health.
Health, thank you. Questions, discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
I have a document that will have to be signed before I leave.
Okay, who do you need to do that? Any warm body or me? Me, okay.
And we also need the power of attorney, right?
That was what I was moving on to. Then we need one more motion. Colleen, would you like to make that?
Motion to authorize the signing of power of attorney.
Thank-
VHI medical benefits.
Thank you, Colleen. Did I get a second, Jess, on that first one?
I do.
I did, okay. Can you second that one as well?
Sure.
Thank you, Lisa. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion also carries. Moving on, 7.4, resolution approval for updating financial account signature cards. Looks like we have to sign new cards with our lending institution to yet again watch the bald old man go into the sunset.
This has to be signed by Kathy.
Okay. So,
Because I'm the treasurer.
And the vice chair.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take away your title, Lisa.
Listen, it's not the
Can't
first
just
time.
let it go, can you?
It's not the first time, Pete.
So I need a motion to approve updating the financial account signature card.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Colleen and Lisa. All those, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Now we're cooking. 8.0 consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda, please.
So moved.
Any second? Thank you, Colleen.
Second?
Thank you, Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion also carries. 9.0 director's comments. You want to start here?
No, just welcome to our new administrative team, and thank you very much for
Thank you.
everything off to a good start.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I went into the school for the first time in a long time. It looked great. It's so fun seeing all those little people. It was exciting to be in there.
Mhm.
Good year.
Kathy? Got anything? All right.
ask a question? Did we, I know we just did this on the consent agenda, but did we have any other additional hires since, did you do any of that over the summer?
There was one in the package listed, but in all honesty, Lisa, I can't remember doing it.
Who would it be?
I think it was Leonard Schmidt. I think I
Okay,
saw
I just
that
missed it in the
somewhere.
packet.
Yes, it's in the signature folder.
And what was he hired to do?
Essential Skills, 1.0 FTE.
Okay, thank you. I missed it.
As I said, it was a long summer. Excuse me, it was an active summer. All right, so confirm next meeting dates. Board Chairs meeting, September 17th at 8. CSSU Policy, September 26th. CSSU Board meeting, October 9th at 5, with our Carousel District meeting thereafter. Again, I would also add, just to make sure it's on there, the community forum to talk about the calendar 2.0 on October 10th at 6:30 here at CVU. I don't know what room it will be in, but I'm sure it will be well advertised.
Could you repeat the time?
6:30 is
Thank
what I was told.
And just to announce, if you're not able to make it on the 10th, or anybody who's listening that's not able, it's at Burlington High School
Yep.
on the 9th at 6:30.
Okay,
So it's
Thank you.
another welcome one.
yeah?
Can I go back a little bit? So-
Yeah? Well, it depends what it is.
No, I meant, it's not that deep. When we discussed the calendar for the budget,
Yes.
remember we talked about maybe webcasting those or something? Did we have
Yes,
discussion around that?
podcasting it, making it more available.
Webcasting it versus having
Yeah.
these folks come in, so.
Yeah.
Jeff, do you remember that conversation?
There's something called Ustream that we could do much like, one of our classroom teachers when there's a performance. So that, it's definitely possible, and with the board's direction, we can make that happen.
Yeah, and then let's put it in the Viking so people can be aware of it and give them the URL and let them go at it.
I mean, we could just create podcasts and they can go to it whenever they want versus live streaming, right?
Correct. It would take some coordination with our tech integrationists to figure out if we need to have two devices going at once, one to do the podcast and one to do the live stream. That's my initial thought, but I would just have to, but it's all doable. Yeah.
My personal preference would be streaming, but.
Where do you have the budget meeting?
In the library.
In the waiting
Yeah.
One other thing, Keith.
Yes.
So as we look at confirming next meeting dates, we don't have an official date for a public forum for our budget season, and I think we should talk about that.
Yeah,
It's a suggested date on there?
It's suggested date in the calendar, October 23rd. Do you want to talk about that now, or put it on the agenda for our October meeting, which is
Boy,
on the
I think we
9th?
should try to think about it, because if we're gonna do it in October,
We have held the budget forum sometimes in conjunction with either a pie meeting or with an open house, although that sounds like a lot.
I think right now it's on the same night as the pie meeting. I was just looking at that. Let me check.
That's a Wednesday and pie's usually Monday.
Pie's
right?
usually Monday,
What
isn't
date
it?
did you have on
There's
that?
something that,
October 23rd is what the calendar proposes.
Actually, that's not a great time if superintendents are going to the VSBA annual meeting,
So,
because there's a presentation Wednesday
last
night.
year's budget forum, we made a mental note to do it opposite because we didn't do it opposite either one of those last year.
Yes.
So we made a mental note to
Yep.
do that this year.
Yep,
The open houses, we just recently said that's gonna be September 25th, which is probably too soon.
yeah.
So that's September 25th from 5 to 6:30. And that will be going out via an alert now tomorrow, because the date and time and logistics were just set. So sorry, haven't heard about it until now. And then the next PI meeting will be.
5 to 6:30.
So it'll be, what we're doing is 5 to 6 is gonna be the open house portion,
Okay.
where dinner will start at 5:30. So it's gonna look and feel a little bit different, but it's gonna be a staggered dinner start, so that the people that are able to come a little bit earlier at 5 can see the classrooms and then go down and
Okay.
have dinner, and then the people that are arriving a little bit later can go up to the classrooms around 5:30, but dinner will run until at least 6:30.
Nice.
So it's just a little bit of a staggered start.
Boys 3-4 soccer practices at 6 for those coaches and participants.
You'll have to eat quickly.
Exactly.
There you go.
But the
So-
pie meeting is October 7th, the next pie meeting, if you wanna look at that.
What about the November pie meeting? Like, are they meeting on Mondays?
The first Monday's
So
correct.
what about November 4th? Because it wouldn't be too late, really. It's before we start doing any kind of anything.
I'm sorry, the pie meeting will be November 4th?
I'm looking at.
I like that.
Because October's pretty crammed. Does that work? Does that work for pie? Patty, do you have any input on that?
Right now it's on the 23rd. There's nothing on Bob's calendar.
I think there's two ways that I would look at it. One is that we had a large contingent of kindergarten parents attend the pie meeting this past week, and I think attendance, it's strike while the iron is hot, so to speak, and that would make sense for the October, or, if you feel like, again, I would like as many people there as possible. So if there's a way maybe that we could, really do a good job communicating that this is your chance to have your voice heard, so to speak, then the November date would be fine.
So how did you do it with pie? Pie would still meet from 6 to 7, and then you would do the,
Then we did have a follow-up.
like, it's from
Right,
7?
Yeah. And we
Yeah.
just stayed.
Might have
Yep.
been it, yeah.
I think after pie is our best opportunity to get the most people there.
Yeah.
And I think we gotta encourage people to come because, this is the opening salvo to the whole budget season, so on and so forth. I kinda lost my train of thought there,
But
but,
we are gonna have to advertise to the whole community too,
Yep.
because
right.
we do.
How
Right.
about, would it be helpful if someone had a conversation with Kate, who I think is still the head of Pie, and maybe ask her which date they might think would be better based on what business they hope to attend to in either October or November, and whether they can cut their meeting to an hour in one of those?
My suggestion, knowing kind of how pie is structured, they've changed it so it really goes to 6 to 8 o'clock on a good night. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
6 to 7 is a presentation, and 7 to 8 is the business of pie.
yeah, and I wonder if Kate would be open to starting it at 5:30 and doing a half an hour of the business side of things, and then allowing the board to have that 6 to 7,
Oh, I see.
where they could then have their regular schedule after. It's just an idea. But I think that conversation with Kate would be the first place to start.
Share the advertising though, what's on the
Yeah,
next?
we already have both agendas for 6 to 7 for both those meetings, but they're
Yeah.
not in stone.
Right.
I mean, they could be changed. Yeah.
I'll talk to Kate.
Thank you.
Can we put any community members off by not wanting to go because it's kind of combined with this school event?
I don't think we advertise it as combined with a pie meeting. I think to me, they're two separate meetings. They just happen to share some attendees. I think anyone is welcome to come to one or the other. And if you go to one or the other, you don't necessarily have an awareness that the other one had or will take place.
We could be so lucky to have that problem.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I think doesn't the select board meet on Mondays too? So we should look at the community,
Yeah.
I'll look at the community calendar. So my question, or not my question, but if the 7th is the best date, then I need to communicate with you all just to set that up, or I can let the administration know and you could communicate with us all, because that will be before our next board meeting.
Yes, it would.
Macy, right? Bob was, we need to make sure he's gonna be available.
All right,
I think that's too soon, the 7th, because we gotta have a discussion.
Yeah, I agree.
Before
I agree.
we go out there and get thrown to the wolves if the wolves arrive.
I agree too, yeah. It seems rough.
Okay, so I think we're looking, but I'll still talk to Kate about
Yeah,
potentially doing
see
it
if that would work on
On the
November
4th.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
And like Allegra mentioned, it's currently scheduled for October 23rd, so we would have to let someone know too, who's in charge of that, so that there's no additional communication that goes out that says that it's on October
I
23rd.
think that's Bob. I think Bob's the point person for that, for all the budget. For
Yeah, I think
CSSU.
that's on tentative, was that,
Yeah.
yeah, I think
has
that
a
we've
question
always,
mark.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
Right.
think he always checks with us and we schedule it.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, then I need a motion to move into executive session to talk about negotiations.
Before you do that,
Okay?
I just want to make
Yes?
sure that our only community.
Oh, yeah, we
members-
could revisit, I'm sorry, yeah, let's do that.
Come for a
Let's go back
purpose.
to 3.0, audience and communications. Thank you, welcome.
Yeah, just double checking.
No,
Okay.
I'm just staying in the loop, nothing, no agenda in mind.
I do just have a question about, what are those spaces being used for that the world language teachers used, their classrooms used to be last year? Where-
Great question. So, with the reconfiguration, not reconfiguration, but with the,
Additional classroom.
with the need of moving a 5th grade teacher down, that was Read 180 space. The new 5th grade classroom previously, last year, was a Read 180 space. So that classroom has taken one of the classrooms that was a world language, with the additional kindergarten classroom being added. We don't have any more room in the primary wing. It's a good problem to have, but that was the other room, the other world language room is being housed by a 1st grade teacher because of a staff movement that went from 1st grade to kindergarten. So it left an opening in 1st grade.
So what is actually in the classrooms
A
then?
1st grade classroom and a Read 180 or essential skills.
Yeah, tier 2.
A tier 2 intervention.
And then there's only one other small change, is that the faculty room was at the end of the hall, but because we put a 1st grade classroom down there, we moved the faculty room to the white building, and now it's an instructional space, so it's, and a bathroom for the 1st
Right.
graders.
That's the reason we moved the
Yeah.
faculty room, is so they could
Yeah.
have their own bathroom. Right.
They just kept coming in.
What's that?
I was in that little room and they just walked through and come to the back.
Yeah,
Where's the faculty down there?
the 3rd floor of the white building.
The treehouse.
Yeah.
That's cute.
We will go into executive.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you.